There's a fourth debate coming up, right? When is that coming up?
Just early December.
Early December.
Oh, God help us.
And the upshot is it'll be the last time that we will have to see Christie. After that, you'll make the active choice to either watch Morning Joe or not. And then you'll see him there, presumably, or wherever else he's going to be. But it is, we made this point the other day that there's no daylight between Donald Trump. I think it was with Digby on Friday. There's no daylight between Donald Trump and the Republican Party. I mean, to the extent that there is, it's really just Donald Trump doesn't believe half of it, anyways. It's just, but the Republican Party does,
and that's what matters.
And even the so-called moderates. Remember, Christie was a Donald Trump, a card-carrying Donald Trumpista until Trump basically said, after you get my sandwich at McDonald's, don't come back.
He was the first to drop out to endorse Trump and stood behind him in that embarrassing display.
Of course. But here he is on Meet the Press. Why Christie's on Meet the Press? It's a good question. But that's why he's running for office, so that he can get onto these Sunday talk shows. And here he is.
Governor, let me ask you about one of the biggest policy positions for Republicans right now, which is the issue of abortion. Your rival, Governor Ron DeSantis, signed a 6-week ban in Florida. As you know, Donald Trump said that was a, quote, terrible mistake. And just this weekend, Nikki Haley said on Friday she would have signed a 6-week ban as the governor of South Carolina. Where are you on this issue of a 6-week ban, Governor? Can you be clear for voters?
Yeah, I sure can be. I think each state should make their own decision, Kristen. And I think that that's what Dobbs was all about, was letting each state and its people make their own decision. And we've seen referenda go on in places like Kansas and Ohio and other places where voters are getting to express their view on this. I think that's the way it should have always been. This is not a federal constitutional issue. This is a state issue, Kristen. And each state should make their own judgment on this. And I think the president or people running for president should not be in a position of picking a certain number of weeks.
Governor, RNC Chairwoman Ron McDaniel told me last week on this show, quote, we can't just say it's a state's issue and be done. Voters want clarity. So can you give them some? Where do you stand on a 6-week ban, Governor? Would you sign it, for example, if it had come to your desk in New Jersey?
With my Democratic legislature in New Jersey, no ban would have come to my desk, Kristen. So it's a ridiculous question, with all due respect.
Governor,
I'm not going to get into hypotheticals. I'm not going to get into hypotheticals, Kristen. I'm simply not.
Do you support a 6-week ban? How do you feel about a 6-week ban? You, Governor Christie.
Kristen, I have said my position on this, which is that every state and its people should make its own judgment on this issue. I have governed as a pro-life governor in New Jersey, and I believe in the sanctity of human life. But I'm not going to get into this media game of 6 weeks, 12 weeks, 15 weeks, 20 weeks. I want the American...
I'm not going to get into this media game until I get hired in 6 weeks to be your colleague, Kristen Welker. But I love the idea that he's not going to get into hypotheticals. I'm not going to get into hypotheticals, which is literally just a question about what your belief systems are. Like, in theory, it's all hypothetical. You're not going to be president. I mean, but when you're running for president, it's in theory hypothetical that, like, a bill comes to your desk. You're supposed to be honest with the public about what your position is on that front.
Exactly. The real question is, would you sign a 6-week ban that came to your desk? Like, that is not some type of fantastical, how would you react if aliens came flying down? No, the idea of a Republican Senate and House passing a 6-week ban is completely, almost absurdly within the bounds of certainly a possibility. But I would say if there is a majority Republican and House and Senate, it's unlikely they will not attempt to pass a ban on abortions that would be, maybe it would be 12, maybe it would be 6, but it ain't going to be 18. And it's definitely going to be a federal ban. I mean, they don't have the ability to put the brakes on this. They have a a Christian nationalist. They voted for their Speaker of the House. This is not like some far-fetched hypothetical. This is a guy who's like, who believes that we should be operating under God's law. You're going to be president of the United States. You got to have a perspective on what's going to come across your desk. And the idea that he gets like so, I mean, what? Maybe he's
indignant.
Still, I mean, maybe the only thing he's thinking is like, I don't know if I can get hired on regular cable. I may have to go to World Net Daily or something like that, and I don't want to shut that door.
J.D. Vance on November 8th had this quote after the Ohio population reaffirmed the right to an abortion in the Constitution. The quote was, "We can't give in to the idea that the federal Congress has no role in this matter," specifically referring to a 15-week ban with exceptions. 15 weeks is also what was introduced by Lindsey Graham, also a federal senator. So you have a theocrat who leads the Republicans in the House. You have a map that's not favorable to the Democrats in 2024 in the Senate, and the real possibility that the Republican becomes the president. So let's not say this is a hypothetical. This is a very obvious reality that could shake out. It's just funny to me because he's too afraid to say anything. And Ronna McDaniel doesn't even say anything in that quote that Welker gives because the Republicans do not want to deal with this because they think that is going to be what does them in 24, if anything.